State to the Golden Gate. This is Quad Radio USA.
Oh, yeah.
Now, with all the dirt from the world of ATV motocross and GNCC racing, here's Mr. 10 Seconds, Rodney Tomlin.
And a good evening, everyone, as we welcome you out here to Quad Radio USA and this Wednesday night 12-12-12 edition of Quad Radio Live as we cast proudly across the World Wide Web at quadradio.com and welcoming you out tonight on behalf of some great folks, including our friends over at Tire Balls. And, of course, Tire Balls has got a new ad up here on the quadradio.com website. You want to click that. They've got 2013 sponsorships up available for you. All the details you can email Pat there at pat.offroad@gmail.com, and you'll be able to find out more. Also want to say thanks to our friends at, of course, SSI Decals, and, of course, also ImpactSolutionsATV.com, your factory-authorized Elka Suspension Center, and, of course, those guys over there taking real good care of you and taking good care of us here at, of course, quadradio.com. And as we get set to roll into tonight's program, a big night as we're going to be focusing tonight on Extreme Dirt Track, our first night of that as we've been experimenting with some first here the last few weeks. We've also got, that's Brad Riley we're going to be speaking with, and the mouth of Extreme Dirt Track himself, Kevin Bailey, will be joining us tonight as a co-host. And hopefully Kevin will be able to stick around with us and talk a little bit with Nick DeNoble, as we tried to have Nick on a few weeks back and some crosswires and things, and did get things fired up there. Found out what the problem was. I'll explain that a little bit later on. But he's due on tonight, and that'll be here in about a half hour, 45 minutes or so we'll be talking with him. But first, a word from Quad Radio USA's first ever sponsor. Thanks to our friends at Tire Balls.
Deemed the most revolutionary aftermarket product in the past 15 years of racing, Tire Balls are being used by top motorcycle and ATV racers around the world. The high-performance run-flat system that works with a multi-cell design that keeps your tires flat-free even when punctured. Developed and tested by 9-time off-road champion Scott Summers and proven by winners across the board, Tire Balls is a product no rider should ever be without. So the next time you hit the trail on a motorcycle, ATV, or side-by-side, make sure you got balls. Get all your Tire Ball and Tire Ball accessories today by calling 724-272-2998 or by emailing pat.offroad@gmail.com. Mention Quad Radio and receive an additional 10% off on already great price products. 2013 sponsorship opportunities can be emailed to the same address. Tire Balls. Any terrain, anytime, no flats.
And welcome back to Quad Radio as this Quad Radio Live edition 12-12-12 rolls into what some have said, my daughter anyway, saying that this was supposed to be the end of the world today, and hopefully that is not the case as we welcome along Brad Riley and Kevin Bailey tonight. And guys, I really hope it's not the end of the world, man, because I know, Brad, you've got some big things on the horizon as far as your racing career is concerned. Good evening and welcome, man.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to you. Thanks for inviting us over here to Quad Radio. Been listening and been chomping at the bits to get over here. I figured if I'm coming, I'm going to bring somebody good. So I brought Brad Riley from Extreme Dirt Track Racing, and he is the Pro-Am Unlimited champion this year. Also second place in the Pro Lights. Well, excuse me, Pro-Am. That's going back a couple of years. But I'm just glad to be here. And Brad, tell us what's going on.
Oh, not a whole lot. Well, I hope it's not the end of the world tonight. And just hanging out and doing a little bit of riding here and there. And
it might be the end of the world. It got you on the radio. A couple of years ago, it couldn't get you to talk at all. Now all of a sudden you're on the radio.
yeah, I was a little shy at first with the mic in my face. Now I like to take it back from you and put it back in your face, put you in the spot.
It's funny because we did an interview this summer, and I ended up sticking the microphone in his face, and asking him some questions while he was getting ready for practice. All of a sudden, he had the mic at the finish line, took it away from me, and he's interviewing me. So it went from, couldn't get him to talk. Now all of a sudden, watch out, Rod, he's on his way.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty wild whenever you go from not talking to being the man in command there with a microphone like that. And, Kevin, I can't believe you gave up the range like that, brother. You'll have that sometimes. Hey, guys, I'll get the show rolling for you tonight. And, Kevin, I'm going to let you do a lot of the interjection, but I'm going to be asking a lot of questions as well. But I think first and foremost, as we talk Extreme Dirt Track, well, first I'm going to ask Kevin, tell us a little bit about Extreme Dirt Track. I'll tell you what I know about it and what my experience is with EDT. Was actually originally whenever the GNC, the Grand National Championship of ATV Motocross and Dirt Track, were combined together, and that's kind of what I know. And then I guess late 90s, early 2000s, I guess it was the early 2000s, there was kind of a split there. The Extreme Dirt Track, or the TT, went by itself and started their own series, and ATVMX went and did their own little series, their own series. So, basically both series grew so huge that it was time for a split, and with the involvement of the factories and everything, I think that's what kind of heralded that. And we saw that Extreme Dirt Track actually suffered for a while, Kevin, but I'm thinking that things are starting to pick up over in that market right now.
Well, things are starting to come back a little bit. It did. It died pretty bad. And last year we tried to do at Budds Creek, when the Budds Creek ATV MX National Round, we did a crossover race. And luckily, the guys from KTM, Jimmy Odell, said, he goes, I can't guarantee that my team riders will be there because contractually I can't tell them. He said, but I will pretty much insist that I want to see him on the dirt track quads. So we had the race on Sunday afternoon, the pro race, because we got rained out on Saturday. It was a nasty day. And John Natale came out, and he was second behind Harold Goodman, and it took you how many laps before you finally tracked him down to pass him?
It took several. It took me probably 5 or 6 laps. Let Harold get away from me. I had to walk Harold down after that. But he was definitely a strong competitor on that side of the circuit too. He was pretty strong.
I'll tell you what, John Natale definitely rolls on a dirt track. I asked him afterwards on the podium. I was like, "Whoa, John!" And he looked at me and said, "Hey, I'm not just a pretty face. I can mix it up in the dirt track." and I let the pretty face go by, but he was rolling pretty good.
Yeah, he definitely was. He got a good start and held me up for several laps. He was running a good, clean race, and I was surprised in how well he was making that thing handle, and it was real strong down the straightaway and everything. We had to loan him a few parts. I think I gave him a set of front wheels and tires. Chucky gave him a set of rears and sway bar and stuff like that, but he made it work.
But I'll tell you what, since then, we've been trying to line it up there. We would love to do a dirt track motocross weekend. And I was talking to Sam Gannons out of Congress, and I said, Sam, I know, he's been with it before and has always run a great race. Of course, he's got a national coming this year, the Motocross National down in Muddy Creek, down by Bristol. And but he was really open to the thought of running a TT race and a motocross on the same weekend. And if anybody could pull it off, it would be either him or Ken Farrell down at Budds Creek.
Right, yeah. In all honesty, those are two golden opportunities. Now, I know Muddy Creek has got a lot of transformation and stuff to go through as they prepare for this this big event that they've got coming, like you mentioned there. They're going to have a big outdoor Lucas Oil Pro Motocross National there this year. So that track that ATV Motocross has been racing on for so many years is going to see that. I don't know what Sam would have there, but Sam's got a couple of events that he'll be putting on. But you're right. We're returning back down to Birch Creek, where I believe in there already, or at least there used to be some extreme dirt track events down there.
Well, yeah, Birch Creek with Ken Farrell and Carl Reynolds, I think that was one of the longest, other than obviously the grandfather of Ashtabula, but one of the longest running dirt tracks. Always, even if it rained, they always got the race in, and they always got it done in a timely manner. It's a very, very efficient operation down there. But, I'd like to see, we need crossover, because the one thing that we are suffering with the Extreme Dirt Track is we just don't have enough riders.
Right.
And it's very hard. We're down to, I think this year we got 8 rounds, and 2 of them are doubles.
Mm.
And, of course, they're long rides. It's obvious why they're having doubles. But we're suffering on numbers. And we just want the motocrossers to get out there, even in the knobby class. And Brad, you back me up on this. Once they get a taste of it, they're going to love it. Because on the motocross, you don't need to be banging handlebars. You really need a good 10, 15 feet between you. That's beside you or in back of you. But in dirt track, you've got 25 laps with 16 pro riders, pretty much the top 5 are 4 inches off of each other's bumpers.
Yeah, it's definitely a higher speed racing and a closer wheel-to-wheel combat racing. We can run, like you said, 4 inches from each other's wheels. We run around the track, the whole thing, and it's definitely some good spectating racing there, and it's good to watch and good to participate in. All the guys that I've known that run the PT series from the motocross, they really like the high speed and close racing. Yeah, they really like it.
Now we got 2 carryover racers here, and obviously one of them being the Bumblebee, Harold Goodman, who is just excels at everything he does. But he is a 5-time national champion in dirt track, and just he cut his teeth there and worked his way up. But he always loves to. He just wants to do everything. And now we have Brad. Brad is doing the crossover. Mm-hmm. And when I heard he was going to race motocross last year, I was like, oh, God, here we go. Maybe Production A, maybe, I don't know, maybe Unlimited A.
Well, now.
But I'll tell you what, he really surprised me last year. He came up and did really, really well in the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, I got to say, I was pretty surprised and impressed with what was going on there too. Because I remember, I recall watching Brad ride, and I was pretty impressed, but I wasn't real aware and familiar with Brad. And then to see him, once you pointed out to me who he was and what he was all about, I was really, truly impressed. And then, unfortunately, Brad suffered from a little bit of an incident, I think, there that took him out of racing, at least on the ATV motocross side of things, for pretty much the rest of the season, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you? Didn't you break a back or something like that, Brad?
Yeah, I had 2 compression fractures to the T5 and T6 vertebrae. Or T7 and T5 vertebrae, and kind of set me back off the motocross. I wasn't supposed to be riding at all, but I couldn't sit at home and let the TT just slip away from me, and just kind of went out there anyways. And the first couple races was kind of tough on me with that, and was trying to get through them first races and just keep on going with my TT racing. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I got me a moto win, and I think at Butts Creek I got me a moto win in Unlimited, Pro-Am Unlimited, and I should have had an overall, but I kind of got a little antsy. I didn't think about the second moto counting, or the first moto counting in our racing. It's the second moto that counts. The first one's disqualifying, and I was in where I was at. So I pulled third off the whole shot, and I had overall one, but I was wanting to go for the win, and got a little antsy and ended up on my head.
Oh.
That's the carryover from dirt track.
That's the competitive beast in you. Is the only thing that I can figure.
Yeah.
That's hard.
We call Brad the Intimidator, Bad Brad. And if you watch him on the track, I mean, it was really weird because I sit there, and being an old motocross and dirt track, I sit there and pick them apart. I look at the styles. A lot of people are like, oh, Bad Brad, he dirty rider. And I watch him, and I was like, he'll stick a wheel in there, and he just dares you, like, what are you going to do? I got the front end in there. What are you going to do? You're going to go outside? Because I'm going to keep pushing you. And he does. He moves him out of the way. He's an intimidator, but I also found him to be a very clean rider. A lot of people don't like it, but he's a clean rider.
What do you mean? He takes a shower?
Not race anybody dirty. I race everybody out there as they race me. If they race me clean, I race them clean. I'm not going to. Of course, don't want to end up on the dirt for sure. It's rubber side down for me, but so
well, you also don't want to end up second.
Yeah, I don't like to finish second either, and sometimes I end up in the back off the start or something, and have to work my way up. But yeah, I just race them hard and let them know I'm there, but I don't put that bumpers to them or risk anybody getting hurt. I just race them hard and just put the pressure on them and apply it till they hopefully make a mistake.
There you go, man. I mean, there's that's how people gain a reputation by doing things like that. And be it good, be it bad. The thing about it is, I think everybody knows the truth. And I think, Kevin, I like that. The Intimidator is a good nickname for somebody like that, because honestly, it sounds like that Brad is in these guys' heads, and that's where you need to be if you're going to want to be at the top of the game out there.
Well, to be honest, out of all the racers out there, I think the only one that Brad can't get in the head of is just one person, and even him is still one track. Harold Goodman is pretty much the absolute total concentration, consummate racer. But Brad, you can even get in his head when you get to Ashtabula.
Yeah, he's a very tough competitor. It makes him tough. He's always there on the whole shots, and sometimes I'm not. I may have to work my way around a few guys. Sometimes I'm working my way around half the field, but he's always there up front from the beginning, and that's what makes him so tough out there on the track. Yeah,
plus the fact his conditioning is incredible, and that's not belittling yours either, because the year before last, you came out to motocross and you had bulked up. And I noticed this year, well, even for the dirt track, you were bulked up. But this year you came out and you slimmed down, so I guess you went for lower weights, higher reps, and it certainly showed with the fact that you not only were kicking butt in motocross, you made a statement with that just as you came into the dirt track series.
Yeah, I've definitely done some training for last year, and I'm planning on doing a whole lot more this year. I got more time and more opportunities for next year to put in more training for motocross, and putting a little bit more focus on the motocross side for next year, and hope to make a statement there, and plan on running a pro class and the pro production class in the motocross side, and seeing where that takes us.
Now, what was the biggest thing, or the biggest difference you noticed when you crossed over and you were actually serious with motocross last year? What was the main difference between the dirt track and the fact that you're not racing 4 inches off somebody's bumper for 25 laps?
It's a whole lot rougher. The conditions more critical, and you got to hang on for, I don't know, the races are longer and rougher, and it's more more my style. I love the TT tracks when they end up getting rougher and making it's easier to pass. If you don't have a good hole shot, you can come back from bad hole shot on the motocross than you can on like the TT. Is some of the tracks are tougher to pass on, and the motocross is a little. So if you're the man, it shows that weekend instead of you getting stuck in the back behind somebody and just finishing where you are.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty neat comparison. And, guys, we'll continue this comparison in just a second. We're talking with Extreme Dirt Track extraordinaire racer and up-and-comer Brad Riley. He's also a motocross dabbler on the ATV side of things. Brad Riley, the number 27. And Kevin Bailey, the mouth of Extreme Dirt Track, on hand with us. Nick DeNoble coming up in just a little bit here on Quad Radio. And we'll be back to talk with more with Nick and Brad, Brad and Kevin here in just a moment as Quad Radio continues. We're going to talk a little bit more about the comparison to Extreme Dirt Track and motocross and a whole lot more. Stand by.
Deemed the most revolutionary aftermarket product in the past 15 years of racing, tire balls are being used by top motorcycle and ATV racers around the world. The high-performance run-flat system that works with a multi-cell design that keeps your tires flat-free even when punctured. Developed and tested by 9-time off-road champion Scott Summers and proven by winners across the board, Tire Balls is a product no rider should ever be without. So the next time you hit the trail on a motorcycle, ATV, or side-by-side, make sure you got balls. Get all your Tire Ball and Tire Ball accessories today by calling 724-272-2998 or by emailing pat.offroad@gmail.com. Mention Quad Radio and receive an additional 10% off on already great price products. 2013 sponsorship opportunities can be emailed to the same address. Tire Balls. Any terrain, anytime, no flats.
Once again, welcome back to Quad Radio Live here on a Wednesday. 12-12-12. And, wow, it's scary to say, but so far we've made it through the day as Quad Radio Live continues here on a Wednesday night with one Brad Riley and Kevin Bailey from the Extreme Dirt Track Series. We got Nick DeNoble coming up here in just a few moments. A special shout-out and thanks to our friends over there at Impact Solutions, your official ELCA authorized suspension service dealer in the United States. You can find them at impactsolutionsatv.com. Also want to say thanks to ssidecals.com as they are a great supporter of Quad Radio as well, and our friends, as we had talked there a little bit ago, about Tire Balls. As we said, we got none other than Brad Riley and Kevin Bailey here with us tonight as we say good evening once again and welcome back the guys. And Brad, I guess, before we went to the break there, you guys just started talking about the comparison of motocross and extreme dirt track, the TT racing and so forth. And, earlier in the conversation you were talking and you'd mentioned being a spectator-friendly sport. That's one thing that's really neat about extreme dirt track. You guys, the venues where you guys go are a lot different than the motocross venues that we go to, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. The biggest thing, it's a great weekend. It's a great time. Most everything's done on a Saturday afternoon, and the main show in the evening for the pros. The biggest problem we have is we're out in the boonies. The biggest thing that we need to do is to get towards population centers where where people would enjoy sitting around drinking a beer and watching dirt track. The racing's there. We just need the spectators.
Right. Honestly, I think, like you were talking about, 4 inches off each other's bumpers and everything like that. That's pretty exciting racing, to say the least. But and then you mentioned the fact that they're out in the boondocks, but traditionally don't the TT tracks race at a lot of start car tracks or something like that?
Yeah, they do. They're, but it's like we're out in South Dakota, Muskogee, Oklahoma. Muskogee actually has turned out to be a fairly good spectator track. Down into Danville, Virginia. Well, let's see. Going over the whole schedule. We started at Kinston, North Carolina on the 4th of May. Then out to Muskogee, Oklahoma on the 25th of May. Sioux Falls, South Dakota on the 14th and 15th. That's a double race of June. Fusco Beach, North Carolina on the 13th of July, which is an incredible place. Ashtabula, Ohio, which is the granddaddy of them all, on the 28th of July. And then up to Batavia, New York on the 23rd and 24th of August. Now, that's, tentative schedules. But that's, again, I don't know how many times you've been to Batavia, New York. Obviously, you've been to Ashtabula, Ohio. That place is just, if you ever get a chance, you've got to go there. It's fantastic. Fusco Beach is the, I guess we could call it that's the biggest spectator spot that we have, just for the simple fact that any given holiday weekend, there's between 5,000 and 7,000 quad riders at this park, just riding and camping and raising particular hell. But again, not one of them is New York, or downtown High Point, North Carolina, or it's all out in the boonies.
Yeah,
and which is nice. I mean, it's nice. We're going to the fan base, but we really need to grow the spectator end of it, because it's something to offer, just like Supercross is. It's something you can do in an arena or a football field-sized place, and people would love to sit around and watch it, and watch Brad, punching in the back of Harold Goodman or Michael Coburn or Kirby Cook.
Yeah.
And they would definitely get into it. It's fantastic racing.
Yeah, it'd probably be the best. I mean, the better spectator racing. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I enjoy racing, period. And, watching those guys go over jumps and things like that are pretty cool. But the idea of being on a little more closed circuit, arena style atmosphere and still being outside with an extreme dirt track, I think that holds a lot of potential. And, some positives about, Kevin, the fact that, you mentioned a lot of these races are out in the boondocks. GNCC experiences a lot of that, and I got to say that, it's a niche market type thing, I guess, in a way. And no matter where you go, once you get those fans, they'll go anywhere to watch you. So it's a matter, I think, right now of building the sport. And sport, as the sport itself builds, I think that the spectators are going to come. And I think, we've seen that and witnessed that in the ATV motocross and the GNCC worlds as well. So it's a rebuilding process. And, I haven't followed the Extreme Dirt Track series very closely, so I can't say whether there have been mistakes, there haven't been mistakes, what the draw is, or the negatives of it all is that's keeping people away from traveling with it or whatever. But whatever it is, it just needs to be re-examined a little bit and just get something and just go to work on it. And honestly, I think that's what's been going on the last few years. Even though there's been some bumps in the road, I think there's been some positive lights coming out of it. And just the crossover that you're talking about that we did at Budds Creek a couple of years ago, that was a big plus and positive. And even just talking about possibly seeing something like that come to light in 2013 or 14 is another cool thing. So, I mean, I think things are going in the right direction right now. It's just a matter of everybody being patient and confident that it's all going to work.
Yeah,
definitely. That's what the sport needs. It needs some marketing help and piggybacking with the motocross. I'd love to see it back the way it was years ago. That was before I got into racing, but I'd love to see it back, the motocross and TT just together, but don't think that's going to happen. But since it ain't, the TT side needs a little better marketing, somebody helping out there and I gotta say, Brad, and I gotta come to the defense of a lot of these promoters and everything. The race organizers, I think, would probably be a better
a better title for a lot of these guys. But regardless, it's a trial and error thing. Things are changing now. Some have gotten on board with what's going on with the social medias. They know how to spend their advertising dollars in their markets and so forth. Some don't. It's a trial and error thing. And I know that even the best series, it's still a trial and error thing. I mean, it goes from the top to the bottom. So those are things I think people are recognizing, obviously, because this seems to be a passionate point for you right now. And Nick DeNoble, who I think just chimed in there just a few moments ago, you guys on the ATV motocross side of things can relate to what they're talking about there. Am I right, Nick?
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good, man. Welcome, Kevin Bailey and Brad Rowley's here too.
Nice. How's everything going?
Oh, it's going good. How's your off season coming?
Yeah, it's coming along. I had that crash in June at High Point back in June 16th, and this month it'll be exactly 6 months that I broke my foot. I got a couple screws in there, and been recovering from that, and getting ready to ride again. Going this weekend to go to the indoor track down here. It's going to be my decision point if I'm going to be for sure racing next year or not. Like I said, I've been off the bike for now 6 months, so
wow.
Go from there. So,
what's it going to take to get you on a TT book quad?
It's quite dangerous, I'll tell you that. I mean, I'm willing to do anything. I mean, there's the past couple of years I've been thinking about been on a TT bike. I mean, but my family's so focused on this motocross.
Yeah.
That we just stuck with that and my parents stuck all their pennies into there, and just I've been, like I said, I've been wanting to try it out. I mean, I've done a couple local TTs and had a blast doing that, but I'd definitely be down to do it.
That'd be cool.
Racing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to experience some EDT racing myself, but I'm so tied up with so many different races that it's hard to get to anything other than what I'm working on. But like we were saying there, Nick, I mean, you kind of feel the pain that these guys are feeling, but at the same time, sometimes it seems like we're hitting brick walls, but you yourself, I mean, especially late in the season, I think we started seeing over the past couple of years some transitions, and things are starting to work, and we're starting to see more and more people come out from a spectator standpoint. It just takes a little time.
Yeah, I mean, it's back in 2008 and 2009 when all the factories were into the ATV motocross. I mean, things were bumping there for a while. I mean, it was going somewhere, and then factories started pulling out. I mean, the racers were still there. I mean, each race, yeah, we were down for a couple from the year before, but hey, we're still in the same 400 or 500 or 1,000 people racing. I mean, and now that there's more younger guys getting better, there's more spectators coming to see. I mean, pretty soon, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'll, like everyone says, it'll get better.
Yeah, it will. It will.
It's weird that, God, what could we do with 400 riders, Brad? I'm telling you, spec tire and spec fuel would be a wonderful thing. If we had 400 riders, we could come up with the sponsorships and be able to talk to Sam Clayton, your Sam Gammons and everybody. And
well, I tell you what.
Really run the series as
Kevin, I tell you what, it's things like what you've already done, opening that door a couple of years ago at Budds Creek, the idea of possibly, going and just talking to Sam Gammon and seeing, hey, can we get a little piggybacking going on here? You know what I mean? I mean, those are the kind of steps that I think are going to start opening the eyes back up in the ATV racing community. That one-shot deal, I think it opened up some eyes, but, a couple more times, I think it's going to take a little more introduction to it in order for people to start feeling a little more comfortable about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was pretty cool at Budds Creek. Was that last year?
Yeah.
TT and everything there. I mean, it was different for us. I mean, all we do is we just go to the track and watch motocross. I mean, Saturday night whenever you guys were racing. I mean, go there and watch that. I mean, it was cool. It was different. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of riders wanted to get out there and do it. I mean, more things like that. I mean, to me personally, I think we should go back like they did back in the day, like when Gus and them first started riding, where they do the TT flat track and motocross.
I'm busy all the way there.
I agree with you.
I mean,
a Grand National champion.
Yep. I mean, that was. I mean, that's when I just first started getting racing, and I really didn't know much about. But now hanging out with Gus all the time and hearing it from back then, I was like, man, I wish. I mean, that for me, that's what would bring in more factories. I mean, it's. I guess
both sports, the motocross and TT side there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was out at AMA Congress this year and had a hand in we actually made the AMA Congress recognize that UTVs exist, side-by-sides.
Yep.
And now it was tasked of the AMA. They have got to come back and say, what exactly is a UTV? What exactly is the size of it, the race classes, and so on and so forth. And up until then, the motorcycle side of it was really like slapping it down. They didn't want to hear about it because they had a steering wheel, didn't have handlebars. But this year, the AMA was tasked by us in the ATV committee that they actually have to come back next year and say, okay, these are utes, this is the definition, these are the sizes, and these are the classes we'll allow to race.
Yep.
Are you
Whether
talking?
they do it or not is another thing, but
Oh, okay.
but, you know, it's one more step to the legitimacy for all of us.
Oh, wow. So and you know what? There's been a lot of talk. I know that a lot of people have talked about bringing side-by-side racing to the ATV motocross side of things. And, you know, everybody's like scratching their head. How are we going to make that work? How are we going to make that work? This seems like the perfect union, man. I mean, honestly, that right there seems like the perfect place for a side-by-side race is on a TT course. And, man, talk about marrying the series together like Nick and Brad have mentioned, man. I mean, that would be pretty cool. But that brings up another question, guys. And this is a question that I wonder if maybe what might be the drawback to the extreme dirt track side of things. And with Nick DeNoble on here, he'll be able to attest to the motocross side of things. But what about the money end of it, Brad? When you go to build a TT bike, what are the specifics that you got to do? I mean, you got to get new A-arms, you got to get different suspension, you got to get different tires, different gearing. What else is there? Is it that, and is that equipment that much more in comparison to motocross, and can both be used for the same with a few adjustments?
Well, I mean, John Natale definitely proved that it don't take a whole lot. He came down there that weekend. We run at Bud's Creek and just changed a couple little parts, added a sway bar, lowered his bike down, and went out there and competed. And he was top. I mean, he was right there with us. He wasn't far off the pace, and a few minor adjustments, I think he could have made it a little better and been even better there. I don't think it would take a whole lot to be able to transfer one quad into back and forth from PT to motocross.
Okay, price comparatively now. I mean, can you use? Well, number one, can you use a lot of the same parts? Will they go from one to the other?
Well, we got in our TT series, we got shorter travel shocks, and different style A-arms in the motocross is long travel stuff and longer suspension, and it is a little different, but not saying you can't make it work. I know Keith Little back in the day when he run TT, I'm pretty sure he always run long travel front end on TT.
Really?
And he made it work good, and I don't see nothing wrong with it.
You know, it's funny because we brought Shane Hitt and Timmy Farr. You know, they were both crossover guys. And, you know, Shane Hitt had a race out at Wayne last year, out in Wayne, Ohio. And, you know, it is possible. They can do it. But well, Nick, you're
okay.
$15,000 over the base price of your quad and parts, right?
Yeah.
So that's about the same as what you're putting into a TT bike.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exactly what Brad said. I mean,
different parts, but still.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Rodney, if I could throw my 2 cents in here, it's Johnny. How you doing?
Hey,
buddy?
Johnny Gallagher, man. Good to have you on board, buddy.
Hey, Johnny.
Random.
I've been on listening. I don't know, maybe a half hour or so now, and when it comes to the cost, racing is expensive at the highest level. So no matter where or what discipline it is. One thing that I can say, I have a background in TT. Obviously, raced motocross, race stadium stuff, and all over, done there, been there, done that kind of thing. But the one nice thing that I can say from a cost point about TT is the wear and tear on the bikes is absolutely minimal compared to what it is in motocross, and then obviously it's tenfold even worse with GNCC. So
yeah, I agree with you.
As far as actually building a race bike, I mean, it's expensive. Especially, I mean, you're talking to Nick, who's obviously one of the premier motocross riders in the country or even the world, and Brad as well, the same on the EDT side. I mean, these guys are using a lot of the stuff they're doing is one-off, handmade. There's not even a cost for this stuff. But as far as getting in at entry level, going back, you guys were talking about how the series were once merged and possibly doing something like that again. I actually am old and did race the Grand National Series when it was both motocross and motocross and extreme dirt track. I guess I raced it probably 4 seasons and raced the GNCCs as well. So I was a busy little beaver, but it was awesome. I mean, it was definitely as Kevin, as you alluded to, a true Grand National champion. Somebody that could do both. I don't know that the sport's ready to just jump right back into that, but I like the idea of the crossover events where, maybe the same weekend running both. And as far as, especially for, somebody who might be listening to this quad radio broadcast right now that's thinking, man, should I go out and try an EDT? I'm a motocross guy or I'm a cross-country guy. To start off at the basic level, these guys can tell you a whole lot more about where the sport's at today, but it doesn't take a $30,000 machine to go to the starting line to try your hand at it in the B class.
Right.
And there's, honestly, back then there was a lot of guys in the amateur ranks. Most of us obviously had discipline-specific bikes. We had, at one time, I think I had 7 bikes. I had a couple of cross-country quads, a couple of motocross quads, a couple of TT quads, and a pile of practice bikes. But there was guys at the races who were very competitive, who raced the same bike for motocross and dirt track or TT as they called it back then, and it was the exact same bike. They would change maybe a swing arm length, obviously change wheels and tires, and have a different set of shocks. But other than that, and slap their sway bar on. But other than that, it was the same bike. They were running the same motor package, same chassis setup. With those changes. So it's definitely doable for the average guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat also that looking at the pro ranks this year, Darryl Raff finished just outside the top 10. He was 12th place, and Roberts still comes out. Jeff Roberts still comes out. Not only supports us by being there, but he comes out and rides with us.
Yep.
And we've seen a resurgence of people older, 35, 45, and 50-plus classes. And, not only quads, but motorcycle dirt track, where people are coming back and saying, like, hey, man, you know what? I'm still a racer at heart, and I want to be a part of this. So, and like you alluded to, you don't have to have the big buck machine. You can buy the used one. Of course, if you're Brad Riley or Nick DeNoble, you're going to have to spend the money.
Yep.
Sorry about that. You guys are the pros now.
No. Oh, yeah.
Well, Kevin, what you brought up with the age thing is a good point, and it's it's all often been that way. I mean, even going back, I started racing the TT series in, I guess, the early 90s, and, a lot of the guys that had long since retired from motocross were still racing the TTs, and, Brad obviously can attest to this, and any of the top guys. I never won a pro main. I did fairly well in the pro-am and ran some pro stuff right at the end before I ultimately transitioned to cross-country full-time, and things got so serious you just couldn't spread yourself so thin anymore. I had to choose what I was going to focus on. But my point is, there was guys back then like Gary Denton who were done with motocross, but were still racing TT. And it's not to say that there's not a physical nature to TT, because, as you guys were talking about before, I mean, obviously Harold's training program helps him late in those mains. All these guys are in good shape, especially in the pro class. But TT EDT is a very mental. It's a very mental game. You talked about getting inside the competitors' heads. Well, there is no sport on earth that involves an ATV that takes more mental focus, not only on the track, but the time leading up to it, than TT and dirt track. And the reason for that is this is essentially, NASCAR with left and right turns and jumps. And the reason why I compare it to NASCAR, and that's not, some people would say that's a bad thing. I think it's great. You watch NASCAR, and those guys are so dialed in on their setups. You can, Nick, you guys mess with your suspension, you guys curve your tires, you do all that stuff for motocross to make your bike a little bit better. But the bottom line is, 9 times out of 10, whether we want to admit it or not, the baddest dude out there wins the race. And that is the case with cross-country as well. With TT, yes, the riders are a huge part of it, but with TT,
a lot of setup.
The setup and, a lot of your abilities come from your ability to set up the bike. And Shane Hitt, who probably won as many or more TT races as anybody in his day, will tell you he wasn't a better rider. He was better in the garage. And, it just makes it so much easier on race day. So, and I'm actually surprised that it's not thriving more, because there are so many guys that love to tinker and love to, love to work on the machines as much as they like to ride them. And that's where a guy that really likes to do that kind of stuff can really excel in TT or EDT, because, it's like it's so heavily reliant on that.
Yeah, it shows more who does their homework and the tech at home and the setup, and who's out there working and changing their stuff. You see more of that on the track instead of just getting out there and holding on to it and riding it.
Well, from way back when I was in dirt track, the rider was part B of the plan, but part A of the plan was the tuner. Yeah, tuner was the most important, because I would come in and say, it don't handle. You got to do something. The bike it's not handling. It's a half mile. I can't. I'm all over the place. And he'd say, okay, just walk away. Go get something to drink. I get something to drink. Come back. He goes, here, try it now. Take it back out. I take it out, and he's like, come back in. It's like, man, it's perfect. What'd you do? Don't worry about it. Just, I fixed it. And I go back up to him later and look in the book, because we always kept the book. Look in the book, and he didn't do a damn thing. He just told me that he changed it, and I was perfect. Yeah. But that's old dirt track. But Nick, you and Brad both, you talk about marketing and marketing the sport. Brad came out with this, I can't say a novel concept, but he's got 2.7 Racing now. And it's like, whoa, gee, where did that come from? It sounds like another 2 number, and maybe it came from Supercross. But it's amazing that all of a sudden you can't just go out and say, yeah, I'm racing. It's like, no, I got 2.7 Racing. No, I got Nick DeNoble Racing. Because I go on Nick's site, and you look at it, there's Nick DeNoble Racing. He's all over the web. The T-shirts have to come out, and and it's all about marketing the racer themselves.
Yeah, I mean, marketing yourself. I think fan base has a huge thing with exposing you and your sponsors. If you don't get along with the fans or the other racers, yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't want to say any names or anything, but
no. It's there. We all know it. And everybody listening knows it too.
I mean, fans have a huge thing with marketing. That's where it goes back to trying to get the exposure. I mean, the more fan base you get, so say you get, like on Twitter, say you get Ryan Sheckler follow you. I mean, Sheckler will start saying, hey, start talking to his people. They'll say, hey, I've been watching these guys. These guys are. I mean, it's pretty badass to see a four-wheeler do 40 miles an hour through woods, zigzagging between trees, or going 70 miles an hour on a TP track, or hitting a 90-foot jump. I mean, fans are definitely a huge thing in exposing you and the industry, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Your websites, your T-shirts, all that good things. I liked some of the things I heard the motocross guys was doing this past year, going to some of the high schools and stuff like that. And trying to get some of them guys out there and just opening their eyes to what's going on right down the road. Like some of them didn't have no clue what was going on, and then you come to a race time, you got a handful, you got 50 students from that school and come in there, and they wouldn't have never came if them guys wouldn't have showed up at their schools and get them out there.
And Johnny, you could attest to that too, because we did that a lot in the GNCC, and I know you were instrumental in that. You did a lot of those.
Yeah, I was. I wouldn't say I was instrumental in it. Obviously, Jen Kenyon with Racer Productions came up with the concept and actually bounced it off me during the winter, and I thought it was a great idea. Well, actually, we had done a test run at Ironman the year before, and it's the school thing is great. It's the kind of grassroots idea of, as you guys have both, or all of you have alluded to, is exposing something that is really cool. I mean, EDT is cool. It's if you can get people in the seats one time, they're going to want to see it again. And the biggest thing I can say for anybody, and that's anybody that's listening, any of you guys, and myself included, I try and remind myself of this, promote yourself, promote your sponsors, promote the sport as well. And I mean, I know that's everybody's goal, but sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own stuff and our own team name and our own, promoting, in my case, Yamaha and the people that pay my bills. It's for the good of the sport when it's doing well. Nick, you alluded earlier to the fact of, when things were really growing in 2008 and 2009 with all the factory involvement, and that, it's up to us to step up. If we want to do it, you can't rely on anyone else or expect anyone to do it for you. And, it sounds like, obviously, Brad and Kevin, you guys have some good ideas and certainly are motivated, and it's a great sport, and it's all about just reaching out, getting new people involved. As far as crossover stuff, I mean, hit as many as you can of your local races, no matter what they are, especially when EDT's coming to town soon. And even if people don't come out and race, just get them to come out and get them in the seats. And I know it's tough sometimes with the promoters. Obviously, they want to make money, but getting people in the door, and that's one thing that Racer Productions has been great at. School visits is passing out the free gate passes just to get people there. You bring the kids bring their parents. The parents pay to get in. The kids want to go see it. You're building fans for life, and with the school thing, it's definitely something I'm sure that and Racer Productions would be more than happy to pass along their expertise to come up with, or to keep the or something like that yourself. And it's amazing to me every time. Good buddies of mine, and I've talked to them, and it's crazy how many kids talk during the course of their family day. This race that we those are fans for life. I mean, they're young kids. And the first implementation of that was 2011. The people visually said, hey, you were my kid. And that's like, you're remembering this? So the sport itself will make the impact. You just have to make that first reach out.
Yeah. It's funny. I saw something on the on Facebook today, and somebody, it was a racer that put it on, and it said, every pro was an amateur, every amateur was a kid, and everybody has to think about all of that. And God, it's so true. Because, let's face it, Brad, Alicia's little boy. He's, great little racer. But he would have never been there if he hadn't met up with y'all, and seen the Carolina races coming out. And Nick, you see it also. It's all of a sudden, you never really asked for it, but now all of a sudden you're a role model, and it's like, oh my God, I got to put on a pit shirt and go out and sign autographs. And it's really, really neat, and it's really what you wanted, but the first time you walk out and have to do it, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's happening.
How did I get into this?
And guys, I honestly feel it's only going to get better. I don't know what it is, but I know that there's a lot of pessimists in the industry, or not necessarily in the industry, but in the world about things. But I think the heart of our sport is still alive and it's still beating, and I think there's embers there, if you will, and I think there's a wind about to blow, and we're about ready to see things reignite, and I think we're going to see a lot of great things with Extreme Dirt Track. We're seeing it in GNCC. We saw the second best year ever in history. ATV motocross is on the rise, and things are looking up. There is no doubt about it. And we're going to be switching gears. Brad and Kevin, Kevin, you're welcome to stick around. Johnny, I want you to stick around as well if you can. And we're going to be talking with Nick DeNoble here in just a second. But Brad, I want to say thanks to you for coming on. And really, I was thinking about we're going to get to know you a little bit, but honestly, I think we kind of got our eyes opened up with you and Kevin and what we were talking about there, about what this sport is, and how good of a sport it is. And I think anybody that's an ATV racer, we can't afford to see this genre slip away, so we've got to start supporting it.
Yeah,
Hey, Rodney, Quad Radio is big on bringing out challenges, or you know how that goes between whether it be Chris Bach on the motorcycle side. I'm going to go run an EDT race this year.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm going to go ahead and, obviously I'm actually heading to Florida right now to start training for 13. I'm meeting up with Forage in the morning, but once I get a chance to sit down and look at the schedules, I'll tweet it or get with you, or we can lay it out. But I'll be at one way or another.
Wow.
If I have to fly through the night or whatever it may be, I'll get Yamaha to come up with the bike and get all the everybody else to put the whole package together that I need, and I'll be at one. Just one. That's what I'm committing to. But
you get the bike, we'll help build it for you. How's that?
I greatly appreciate it. That would be
Let us know if you need anything.
It's been a long time. I'm not sure I remember what all I know is I need a sway bar and some different tires, different shocks. But I'm sure the guys at Fox and everybody else will step in and make that happen. But I'd like to help get you guys a little bit of exposure in any small way that I can, and if I can help open some GNCC folks and off-roaders eyes to the world of EDT, I'd love to help out.
Man, we'd love to see you there.
Hey, something else? I've been experimenting with some stuff, and if I can get some more sponsorship dollars and stuff, maybe we can actually put one on live on Quad Radio sometime.
Yeah,
I love that.
Man, I mean, technology is out there. I don't see why we don't utilize it. So those are some
What we ought to do is put it side by side with Brad driving and me on the other side with the mic.
then we'd have to edit and all kinds of...
turn left. Okay, turn left. Okay, turn right now and turn left.
The sad thing is, Kevin, it wouldn't be that... I don't think it would be that. Yeah, exactly. I rode with Chuck. I rode with Chuck LeMaster at a GNCC side-by-side race, and let me tell you, man, even growing up the son of a preacher, man, it was tough for me to bite my tongue and not say some things.
Yeah, that's when you come up with shut the front door.
I'm not going to tell you how my heart just skipped a beat when you started that. Well, Brad, any parting shots before we let you go, brother?
No, thanks for having me, guys, and check me out on 27motorsports.com anytime. Building a website, going to school, and kind of trying to promote my series and myself, and look us up and hope to see everybody at the motocross and TT races this year.
All righty, brother. We'll talk to you again real soon. So I want to talk to you about your series and other things later on, but I just want to say thanks for being a part of things and reminding everybody to stick around. We'll be back in just 1 minute with more from Quad Radio USA with this Quad Radio Live here on a Wednesday, December 12th. That's 12/12/12. Wow, I'm getting scared.
Way to take